Australians aged under 50 will not be given the AstraZeneca vaccine under recommendations from the nation's health advisors. Joining me now live is Dr. Tony Bartone, GP and former president of the Australian Medical Association. Doctor, was it the right decision?
Good morning, Danica. Look, as soon as we've been seeing the reports and the information that has been flowing, especially in the last few days from overseas, from all the other regulators in Europe and in the UK, it was always going to be that our authority, our regulators, the TGA and the TARGI, were going to meet and give that really careful consideration. The advice has come back on the abundance of caution and proceeding accordingly with the announcement. It is important that we instill confidence back in the rollout program that obviously these reports would have been putting questions around in the minds of the Australian community, and ensuring that we get back to the task at hand, and that is that we have no other real option but to continue with our vaccination program if we want to see our lifestyle to return to some sort of sense of normality in the long run. Vaccination is saving lives. It's been proven right around the world. This is an important part of our response in dealing with COVID-19, and we need all Australians to continue, especially those in the current phase 1A and phase 1B target groups, to continue to have that vaccination as they are invited to take part.
So explain to us, why is this jab still considered safe for those over the age of 50 but not under that age?
So this is basically the advice of our regulators, of the really informed medical experts that have looked at all the data from overseas, especially Europe, especially the UK, where AstraZeneca vaccine has been largely and more extensively used. It's looked at that data. It's looked at the incidence of this rare but very, very serious condition, and in particular the reports, which are varied in various parts of the literature and parts of the observed reports, especially being a predilection to younger members of the population, and especially those perhaps more in terms of a predilection towards the female subgroup. But clearly we're still getting that information. They've looked at it and they've made the decision to proceed with the under 50 age group and continue along that. The other thing to bear in mind is that where we're looking at this under 50-year-olds, clearly if we look at our vaccine rollout plan, we don't have to look at under 50-year-olds till well deep into phase 2B. And that really is that we still have a significant amount of time and significant amount of opportunity to continue our program while we look to source additional supplies of Pfizer or indeed any other alternative option, including the promising Novavax vaccine, which is deep in phase 3 trials at the moment and showing very promising results.
So what should people do if they have had the AstraZeneca jab, even if it's just the first, and they are a young person?
The advice is very clear. Because this rare condition seems to be immune system mediated, it gives us really good confidence to say that if you've already had your first dose and you haven't had a reaction along these lines to that first dose, of course we should proceed accordingly with that. If you've had a reaction, whatever reaction that is, that would obviously then have to put you into a review category, and clearly you wouldn't be proceeding with the AstraZeneca. But if you've had your first dose, you haven't had a reaction, you are really, really safe in the knowledge of proceeding along. And that is what the advice, what the information is telling us at this stage. Remembering that, of course, this is, this syndrome, this condition has only been observed really in very, very, very recent weeks now in terms of the information that's coming through. So we're learning about it all the time, but the advice is clear. And then the advice was made very clear again last night. anyone who's had their first dose of their AstraZeneca can proceed along the next dose in the 12 weeks subsequent to their first dose.
Are you worried, Doctor, that this debate has undermined public confidence in the vaccine?
Any negative circumstances or information or events around any implementation or rollout of a new vaccine is, of course, very, very worrying. We are in the middle of one of the most extensive public health campaigns in our lifetime in terms of vaccinating an entire population against COVID-19. We need everybody to have that confidence and that assurity that they will have the option, the access and the availability to have a vaccine that's appropriate for their condition and their circumstances. It's not uncommon to have different vaccines for different age groups, and the flu vaccine is a perfect example of where we have different vaccines approved for different age groups and different subsections of the population. So we want everyone to re-establish with especially their healthcare provider, hopefully their GP in particular, to have that conversation and be reassured that this is an important next step in terms of our protection and our coming out from the COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay, Dr. Tony Bartone, thank you for joining me this morning.
My pleasure. Have a good day.